It's Michael McGlinty, and what I'd like to do now is there anyone in the audience today that would like to speak to something that is not on today's agenda? Perfect. Not seeing anybody raise their hand. So at this time, we have staff available, planning staff? Is that Eric? Eric, do we have any changes or to today's agenda?
I'll take that. No changes to today's agenda.
Okay, perfect. What I'd like to do is try to get through the meeting minutes for January 29th, February 26th, March 26th, and April 23rd. So with that, I'd like to take a look at the January 29th meeting minutes.
I didn't notice anything.
I had nothing.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the V to open, man.
I had nothing either.
Okay, perfect. Then with that said, I'd like to get a motion to approve the January 29th meeting minutes.
I
So
will
moved.
make a motion that we approve the January 29th meeting minutes.
Perfect. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, those are approved. Moving on now to the February 26th meeting minutes.
I had no
Okay.
changes on those.
Right, I had no changes on those as well.
I have a lot of questions on number 2.
Okay.
A lot of these comments were not from us, but I don't think, but from the applicant's presentation, weren't they? So they're
Yeah, I think the red line
direct?
comments are- yeah, the red
So
line
is it
comments-
direction from us, or is it just saying what he said, sounding like it's from us? That was my main question.
Yeah, I think that was just the items, the comments that we discussed, those were additional.
And this is going to go to the Planning Commission, I believe. So they're going to look at this as comments that we made rather than a presentation from the applicant. It might be confusing to them. And on item FG, there's still a scale problem. And I don't know if that was discussed. And I also discussed viewing the project from different directions than they were presenting it, down stories towards Gray and Dyer. It's going to be a big 2-story mass, and they hadn't looked at it that way. It's going to read differently than they are presenting it.
Yeah,
And I also asked them to consider breaking up the roof from a single long ridge on the 2- and 3-story elements, and that the I and J and K still need a lot of work. And that doesn't sound as though that's the gist of what we were, the comments that are on there, the red line ones. Item O, consider undulating of straight lines. They didn't do that very much, and it still reads in a lot of ways as a single linear face. They undulated it a foot or two, but it's a gigantic building and it doesn't read like it's moving at all. And I'm not sure what the summary at the end means. Does that mean we're only going to look at certain things? Because what we're looking at, I mean, that is kind of the whole, we're still looking at the whole project, and much more than is limited. That we're not limiting it to just looking at a few items. It's a big project and it needs to be looked at in depth. So those are my overarching kind of comments about what I have a problem with on 2.
Well, I mean, they were agendized for further conceptual review
Yeah,
on that. So
yeah. Well, we can't. Yeah, until it comes back from Planning Commission, we can't act on anything. But
right.
I don't want the Planning Commission to misunderstand what our position is on the project. So I don't know how to address this because it was.
Then what I would suggest is that we table this meeting minutes for the end of today's meeting so that we can provide direction to staff as to how we should be working.
I think so, but I don't really know how to fix it or what. It's done in a format responding to questions from the previous review, and I don't know if that's the problem or what, but we would need to talk about it, I think.
Yeah, we'll circle back on these.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the March 26th meeting minutes.
I don't think I was there, but there's no record of who was there. And I thought that was usually in the minutes somewhere.
I'm not quite sure which version the members have, but I'm showing in the minutes as Michael, Steve, and Kevin.
Mike, Steve, and Kevin.
Okay, so those must have been the ones that were put on late yesterday. I was looking at the ones that were given us last time because that's all I had.
So my understanding, I talked to Leah about this morning. She said that everything was put in the box on Tuesday, and the ones for minutes for April were added on Wednesday.
What I do is I get all of this stuff, and then I download it all. I think I downloaded it Thursday, and then I put it on my computer and bring it up that way. So I don't really ever go back to the site and look at it. FYI.
Okay, with that, with Steve and Kevin, did you see anything in these meeting minutes that needed to be edited or revised in any way?
Oh, I just took a quick glance at it and I didn't see any issues.
Kevin, you were the same?
Yeah, I'm the same. I reviewed it and didn't see anything. So I did it earlier in the week because I was traveling yesterday. So, if anything got uploaded Thursday, late Wednesday or Thursday, anything different, I didn't see it.
Okay. Then, I think, Kevin, if you were seeing meeting minutes that have our names on them, then these are the latest meeting minutes for this particular one. So, I don't see anything wrong with it. I'll entertain a motion to approve these meeting minutes for March 26th.
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then the meeting minutes for March 26th are approved. Moving on to the April minutes. Kevin, since you are traveling right now, you probably did not get a chance to download these minutes because they were added yesterday. Is that correct?
Yeah, I didn't see those. So
okay, then we will table these meeting minutes for April to our next meeting.
Yes, to be honest with you, I didn't see them either.
Okay. So we'll move on now to the NBAR members informational briefing. Has anybody had any contact with applicants, planning staff, board of supervisors? Just so you guys know, Kevin and I were asked to review some additional information with regards to the water towers out in Kevin. And then I'd asked staff to have Kevin take a look at all that and give his thoughts.
Okay.
Kevin returned an email back to staff that we're going to provide additional comment to the applicant. So, thanks for reviewing those, Kevin.
Yeah, it's just because I wanted to make sure I had some comments made on everything. I also reviewed and responded to all the projects that were agendized for today. I just because I didn't know if I was going to be able to call in, so we can hold those in abeyance until those projects come up, and I'll make them as the project gets reviewed.
Okay. All right. So with that, we'll move on to the staff update.
I'm not sure if Mr. Gomez has anything, but just something really quick. I'm not sure if the members are following the Planning Commission, but both Key Site 3 and Key Site 21 projects have been working their way through the Planning Commission since prior to the election, I believe.
Remind me which ones those are.
I can get you the address in just a minute. So the Key Site 21 is the one that's next to the golf course. The neighborhood.
That's the residential, right? Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that project is the Planning Commission has asked staff to draft findings for denial. It's been continued a few times for a variety of reasons, but that's scheduled to come back to the Planning Commission. I think the Planning Commission has told the applicant that they're not going to favor any further continuances, and so that's coming back on June 30th. And so in that case, they make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors, so they'll be recommending denial, likely. And so for the Key Site 3 project, the Planning Commission is also recommending denial, and that is actually going to be heard next Wednesday on the 26th.
And that's the one by the freeway, right?
I think so. I can pull up that information. But just to...
Is that the commercial one or the residential one?
It's a residential one.
Okay.
And that was all I had.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. All right. Well, we are now going to move on to today's standard agenda. Item number 1, VAR number 19-00095, the AT&T Mobility Telecom Facility. If the presenter, the applicant can go ahead and introduce himself and the team, or herself and the team, we'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah, good morning. My name's Jerry Ambrose. Seem to have a problem with the video part of this. So the project was reviewed by your board back in 2020. Nothing has changed. We've received Planning Commission approval, and our lease agreement with the county is complete. There was a comment that from one of the NBAR members about changing one of the plant species, and we're okay to do that. Whatever the NBAR thinks is appropriate, we'll make sure that's done on the landscaping side.
Okay.
And I can answer any questions.
All right. David or Eric, are you able to pull up video on this? And
Sure. I can.
The agenda items.
I can pull up the plans. Just give me a sec.
Okay, thank you.
Can everyone see the plans?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Uh-oh. Hold on one sec. I'm sorry. Oh, hold on one sec. Eric, can you pull them up? I apologize. I just got back from vacation and they upgraded my computer and I forgot that it makes Adobe, it's been unstable since.
Hi, Eric. Give me 1 second. This isn't sorry, this is not a project that was assigned to me. It's actually a project that Shannon's here for. We were expecting the applicant to present, but I'm trying to access their plans right now. So let me see if I can find those in the meantime.
Thanks. Sorry for bearing with us here.
Yeah, I'm sorry as well. I know in the S bar, they have someone there who coordinates the screen. So my apologies.
Okay, I think I have them up. Give me 1 second. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect.
Thanks,
And
Eric.
yeah, of course. Do you want to just direct me where you want me to go, or?
I think that was a question for you, Jerry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can go to page or sheet A4. There you go. And so that's the basics of the project. Your board had decided that the monopole design is better than a fake tree or some other kind of structure. So the tower will match the color of the project that was approved down at Kellogg Park in Goleta. All of the equipment will be surrounded by a split face stone wall. I had sent over a depiction of that to Shannon. So that might be in the MBAR folder. Yeah, there you go. That's the wall that we intend to use. And then, as I mentioned before, there was some landscaping required, and we can put in there whatever the MBAR determines is best. And then there's in that MBAR folder, there should also be a photo of the Verizon monopole down at Kellogg Park. Yeah, there. And that's the basics of it. Just again, it's the same project that was reviewed, that your board reviewed last year.
And board members, I believe Shannon had also requested for you to comment on the color of the CMU wall. I think that was an outstanding comment from the last meeting. So just want to make sure I get that from you for her.
Yeah, so the wall photo that's here above, that's what we think is best. I mean, they do make a gray color, but that looks more industrial. So we thought this sandstone, what we call sandstone color, is best. So.
Yeah, I'm sure Steve, you can back me up. The natural color was fine, only because it's
Yeah.
where it is. You know, it's 650 feet off the property line, next to ball fields and little league field off a dirt road. So
I think the town's fine.
I do too.
now,
What kind of gate is it?
They usually use a metal painted gate, you know, like a dark green or dark brown, but that can be. Sometimes we do them in wrought iron. That tends to invite, you know, people's interest more than just making it a, you know, a painted door, a painted gate, solid.
Are you painting
Yes.
it the same color as the wall, maybe?
We can, yeah. Usually they, for whatever reason, usually they paint them green, but yeah, it can paint the same color as the wall. Sure, not
I
a
don't know. What do
problem.
you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Match
I do
the
too,
walls.
yeah.
Sounds good.
Let it fade into the background, matching the walls.
Yeah, I agree.
now, what arrangements, if any, have you made with the landowner? I noticed on your site plan that there are existing storage containers out there.
Yeah, so the landowner is the county, so we need to move one of those containers. And that's already accounted for in our lease agreement with the county.
I mean, for me, the only concern I have is that it's a little league ball field where we've got sometimes unsupervised kids all over the place, and it's right next to the high school. That any container close to it is just going to invite looky-loos to go inside your enclosure. So I would just try to make sure that it's far enough away so they can't jump down onto the fence or climb the fence. And that's the only concern I have.
We can sometimes, we've been asked to do, basically a lid, like a chain link lid that can be sort of below or even with the top of the wall. I mean, that can be done if that's.
I personally don't think that's necessary.
Unfortunately, what that does is that sometimes, I guess that could give sort of a launching pad to climb the tower.
Right.
So,
And collect leaves and other.
yeah, and baseballs and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to be playing baseball. Okay.
What was the Kevin? Do you remember what the landscape issue was on that?
Yeah, they're in and around the. There's a document. They're in the Burton Mesa area, and there's a Burton Mesa Ecological Reserve Management Plan, I believe it's called. And so I sent them the reference, giving them a different type of coffee berry to use, one that is found in the area, rather than bring one in that's not normally found there. So coffee berry is a big screening shrub, produces a lot of seeds that birds can carry around. Can you guys hear me still?
Yep.
I'm hearing a bunch of static. So they don't necessarily have to use coffee berry, but something big and screening, and they can look back to that document and pick plants out of it. But I gave them a different type of coffee berry that they could substitute for. So.
How difficult is that to recognize that the right one gets planted?
We can change our plans for our zoning clearance so that it's the California coffee berry, not the San Ramon coffee berry.
Well, the San Ramon one is found up in the San Ramon area. That's where it originated. It's found widely in California. It's just I would prefer they stay to something that's in the Burton Mesa area and not
Sure.
introduce a new species. So
Yeah, that's fine.
So
Yeah, we can do that. That's easy to do.
either that the coffee berry that's found there, or something similar. You know, a big mounding screening shrub.
Okay.
And Shannon can get you the document, or I can get you the document that you guys can pull the plants from.
Oh yeah, I have that. She sent that to
Okay.
me. I see
Okay.
that. 25 or 30 different plant species on it. I saw it.
Oh, there's hundreds in the whole document.
Oh,
So,
really? Oh, I
yeah.
got to keep going. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that was my only comment on there.
Okay.
Does the board have any other comment at this time?
Hey, Mike, I can't see the pictures. I can't see anything online this bottom.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty small, Bobby, especially if you're on your phone.
Yeah, I don't have any picture at all. I don't have any video of anything. For some reason, I don't know why. I can't seem to get it to come on.
Okay.
Bobby, I had the same problem, but there's two dots at the top of the screen. If you slide to the right, the orange dot will move, and that's when I was able to see it.
Trying that, but it won't seem to slide to the right. Huh. Oh, there we go. Got a tap on it. Got it. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Kevin.
Okay.
All right, guys. So, I mean, I think we were satisfied when it came through the first time, and we had a little bit of discussion on the wall, plants and things like that. I think they've gone through and made some revisions. I don't see that we need to discuss this particular project any further. So at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve this application for final.
With our corrections or comment
with Kevin's comments. Yeah.
and the color stuff.
Yes.
Well, I'll make the motion that we approve the mobility new telecom facility in Vandenberg Village with the comments made by the board today on the color of the wall and also the landscaping.
I'll second that.
Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Well, thank you very much. Go ahead and work with your planner to get your final
Yeah,
stamp
thank you.
on this.
All right. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Welcome.
All right, we are now going to move on to item number 2 on today's agenda. 20 DAR 00148, the residential project at 520 East Clark Avenue. If, Annette, if you're ready, go ahead and introduce yourself for the record, introduce your team that you have assembled, and we'll begin.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is Annette Fair, designer for the Brannan Family Properties. And today I have with me Pam Brannan, who's the owner of the property and project. We are able to locate, reach by phone the landscape designer and civil engineer if we need to. So hopefully they can join us at some point. Right now, what we would like to start with would be the two main comments from the last meeting, which dealt with the view of the wall facing Clark Avenue and how that would look. If you go to page A4, I have the schematic drawing with the wall, columns, gate, and the houses beyond, so that you can see the relationship of everything to each other and also the slope of the road from Clark and what your visual would be. I don't know. Can you see?
Is everybody seeing it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. As you can see, we kept with the county requirements of the heights of the columns not being higher than 6 feet, and the brick, and then the walls are coordinated, with that, with a 6-inch space between the top of the columns to where the wall starts, and then goes down to, obviously the finished grade. But nothing is higher than 6 feet. And let's see, on the center area where the gate is, you will see the wrought iron, actually the steel bars that will be sealed and painted, powder coated, and will be the frontier shingle to tie in with the trim of the structures, so that everything flows in, and the color of the stucco walls also will match the body of the house, which is the oyster haze. There is a 6-inch height difference, as you will see, also between the heights of the two houses facing Clark, and with the grading plan, that's how they ended up with that. And the brick columns will also tie in with whatever the brick strip on the houses, so that all the colors in the fireplace, and all the colors will tie in with each other, and so nothing will be sticking out, like a sore thumb, if you will. Let's see. The next thing that we needed to address from the meeting was the relationship of the smaller gables and what we decided, and the knee brace issue. So what we decided to do is just bring the board and batt straight up to the underneath of the gable there, and then just so that's a simpler, I think, more pleasant look. And then all the knee braces tie in size-wise, and there's no issues with horizontal siding and the length and tallness of the knee braces. The colors have not changed. And I think right now
those were the primary.
Yeah, those were the primary two issues we had last time. If you want to go to the PL1 of the landscape drawings, you will see the elevations, as you can see from Clark Avenue. Everything's pretty this heights and tie in pretty well with each other. The proportions, and then of course the landscaping, and it will soften everything, and the lights on the columns as we had before.
Yeah, we did fix on the lighting plan.
Mm-hmm.
We switched it to the recessed lighting. That's on page
Line 1.
this one. We fixed the lighting in here. It's hard to see in the detail, but we just left everything recessed and only used the bigger light fixtures on the houses.
So I think that was all really that was more important to bring up to begin with.
So Annette, on A4,
Correct?
there's a little retaining wall over on the left side, and a little retaining wall over on the right side, looks like.
Yes.
And then that goes, what are the fences along the back? I mean, on the sides?
Mhm.
What are the? There's going to be a, like on the right side, there's going to be a masonry base. Is that what it is? And then a wood fence
Yes.
along the side. Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
And what kind of masonry are you using along the face of the side? Maybe I could detail somewhere, huh?
There's some detail here on LC2 that Scott put in. It was just going to be the basic masonry block. And then we would attach the fencing to it. I don't know if he did the detail with the block on the retaining wall on that side.
Well, there's a retaining wall containing dirt on the other uphill property on the left, and then there's a downhill property on the right. So there's a retaining wall there that's not addressed in your detail, and then it's going to be exposed along the property line on the right. So you probably need to detail how that's going to work, I would imagine somehow. But there's going to be a retaining wall made of something. Is it going to be brick or just?
No, the
CMU?
entire wall is block, and then the stucco cover in the front, and then the same block that we would use on the front of the fence would follow around for the retaining wall.
Okay. Does that go all the way back to the back property line to the alley?
I don't believe it has to. I believe on the grading plan that it evens out.
About there?
Daylights.
Yes. And Daniel's going to be designing the retaining wall. So whatever, he comes up with on that, we will match the finish on the stucco wall on that side. So that
it's not very tall. I don't think he's going to.
No, it's less than
Maybe
what I think. It's
2 feet.
2 feet.
Yeah, a couple of feet.
One side, yes.
But I'm still trying to find the detail with how do you put
That's
the
on
fence
the-
on top of it? Just think about that.
Then,
Just so.
Well,
Then on your
if we look at the grading plan, sheet C1, it indicates that it's a CMU wall all the way around. And
This
the wood
one?
wall, the
It's
grading plan, C1.
grading. The
That's not, is that
this is all landscape.
right. I'm trying to remember where I put the grading plan.
Yeah, you have, it's a combination grading and utility plan.
Yeah, actually.
And this one indicates that the CMU wall is on 3 sides of the property. And you have a wood fence between the parking area and the residences.
I don't think I have that one right
Eric,
at my fingertip.
I had sent it to Eric. I don't know. It is.
I can share my screen really quick and bring it up if that's helpful.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Whoops. There you go. And where are you looking?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Okay.
So on both sides of the property, he indicates keynote number 7, which is a site wall. And then down at the lower right-hand corner on the uphill side, he indicates either a wood fence or the continuation of the site wall.
Yeah.
So I mean, basically he's got CMU all the way around it, except for that back.
Yeah.
There will be a wall all the way around.
A fence door.
Yeah, a fence.
But wherever the retaining wall stops, it daylights, and then, I mean, the fence sits on top of wherever the wall is, but we will, the stucco wall that's in the front will tie in. We will make sure that it ties in with the color and finish, whatever wraps around and is exposed on the sides.
So item 7 says site wall with minor retaining. And Michael, where does it say that it's a CMU wall all the way up?
I asked Perry.
Well, this is just reference, using the same reference on the front wall that he uses on the side wall.
Yeah.
So if the front wall is CMU, then the side walls are CMU. He's made no differentiation between those two walls. So the stucco covered CMU wall is going to wrap around the corner and then head towards the back of the property. It's not until you get to the lower right-hand corner of the site where it references a fence or site wall for the landscape plan. So there's no definition as to what it changes or when it changes or how that, the wood wall or wood fence is going to be attached and or sitting on top of the site wall. So I'm just kind of looking at what he's noted on.
Yeah.
One of the things we discussed was just not even transitioning to a wood fence and just having the stone wall, with the stucco cover continue all the way around the property. If that would ameliorate the concern, we have no problem with that.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that all the sheets are coordinated. So you've got one thing on the grading plan, and then you've got maybe another idea on the landscape. So you can go ahead and pick what you want to use, but we just need to have the plans coordinated.
Okay.
And then detail it accordingly so that the wood, if it's a wood fence, how it's going to work on top of the wall.
And
Also,
then, board members, this is Eric Gomez. Sorry, if it helps, it appears that notes 7 and 8 are made kind of on each side of the wall, or the north, east, and west, where the wall would be. So to me, the way I'm reading this, it seems like the engineer is telling you that there is going to be some type of CMU retaining wall, but the exact fence or the exact detail of it would be shown on the landscaping plan. So really what the engineer seems to be focusing on is we are going to have to design some level of retention here. The aesthetic portion, though, the fence or whatever the remaining portion of the wall would be on the landscaping. And you see that because he points out 7 at the top here and 8 at the bottom as well, 7 and 8 on the east side and 7 and 8 on the north side as well. So it looks like they're just giving some kind of design. They're letting a net design the wall. They're just saying that this component is going to have to be a part of it.
I don't see the wall on the landscape plan though, detailed or noted.
There is a detail of it on the that he has the wood detailed drawn up on top.
Which that's
on
not on,
LC2.
that's on this plan.
It's the top of Jim. It's the top of the picture where it shows the little pilasters and then the wood in between.
I'm bouncing from one to the next.
I have it on my.
I wanted to put a comment in that
my screen.
The wood, the pilasters with the wood fence. There's really good ways to do that, and they come out looking really nice, and it kind of gives a little aesthetic break, better than just putting straight block with a stucco on it. I thought it was kind of a pretty design. So, and obviously there's no, you guys pick what you like. Don't you know, we're not trying to tell you what you like. You pick what you like. But the picture on the landscaping plan I thought was pretty nice. It looked pretty nice, and you could see that there has to be a little retaining, obviously. So
Right.
you know, the CMU base for that retaining is a nice way to accomplish that. And then of course you just put some galvanized posts in, or use the bracketry in between the pilasters, like you have there on the front, so that you can get a nice fit and finish, obviously.
Yeah, that would
Just
be
a
our
couple more details, I think, would be, you know, just a couple of details on how they plan to do that. But there's pretty standardized methodology for that at this point in time.
But it needs to show on your plans. Also, Annette, on the front of the fence, there's these horizontal metal bars,
Yes.
which I think are nice, but how do those work?
I thought that Scott did some of the design work on the entry gate area portion of the LC2 plan. That they'll go into a bracket
And attached to the,
that attaches to the brick columns. If they need a support in the middle based on the length, then we'll build a single support, you know, in between them. That would attach to the top of the stuccoed wall. But it will be very simple and clean lines.
Yeah.
So
I
it's a
mean,
5/8 inch bar.
that stretches 17 feet.
So detailing that's going to.
So
How are you going to attach it?
I'm just confused. If we understand that we need to detail that in more detail as we submit plans for building, are you asking us to submit this detail to you guys at MBAR before?
We look at all the details for the house, like you're going to submit it to the building department. Also, working that out to make it really look cool is part of the design of the house, of the fence. Excuse me.
Okay.
So yes, ma'am, what you are submitting to the building department will also come to us. As far as the details for the fencing and the details on the houses, the brackets and all of it. So whatever you submit to the building department will be part of the final set of plans that we will look at.
And I think it's going to look.
I got a question. Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
Are the bars designed to be see-through in the middle of the wood panels, or are they just a decoration on the outside of the panels, like a shutter or something? I didn't understand that. I was going to ask that.
I think they're free floating.
I saw the panel.
Where are we talking about? Is that on the wood fence?
No,
I think it's the gate.
on either side of the gate, from my understanding.
the
I
horizontal.
thought maybe they were some kind of a plant, you know, some way to support like vines growing up the front of the fence or something at first. That's what I was thinking. But now that I look at it in a different angle, I'm saying, well, it looks like the boards are behind it,
Right.
but then I see those.
It's a
Oh, you mean on
see-through-
the gate part? I'm talking about on the wall on either side of the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm talking about too.
Yeah,
There's no wood there.
there's no
No,
wood. They're
That's the house
see-through, which
behind
is
it.
cool. But it's all in the detail, whether or not it's going to work or not. I mean,
Oh,
visually.
well, I guess I don't understand it then. Okay.
It's just like a top rail on a fence. There's
Yes. Yeah.
and they're little bitty bars about 5
Oh,
inches.
no,
they
so they
won't-
are see-through, basically like a wrought iron
Yeah.
fence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they're going to
Oh,
need to
okay,
be
all right.
supported. You can't span those things 20-odd feet.
No, they're going to be supported some distance, like every 32 inches or every 60.
Yeah, something like that. 32, 48 maybe.
Yeah, because they're going to.
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense now. Okay, now I get it. Okay. Thank
So
you,
how
guys.
you're going to make the little brackets and stuff is the big part of the design.
Okay.
Well, we
Fact
thought
is, I
that-
think a little
Last-
bigger bar would probably be advantageous.
Yeah, because I could see some kid climbing over that thing. It bends and you can't bend it back, and it's going to be crooked forever.
No, we did recognize that, you know, we needed the supports in between, but
Yeah.
because of the lengths and everything, that during the fabrication, the people who are fabricating it would definitely address You know, otherwise,
The-
yes,
the support.
the supports in between.
But as a designer, you need to tell them how to do it.
Yeah,
what
it's a
you
leap
want-
in faith.
what it to look like. And then they'll say, here's how we can accomplish that, rather than the other way around.
Okay.
Because then you don't have any control over really what's going on.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, I understand what you're saying. But again, all the supporting and that kind of thing, we would definitely, deal with whoever the fabricator is and with Daniel on
The
how
engineering.
the engineering part of everything.
Well, I'm not talking about the engineering isn't, it's that simple. It's just to try to explain to us what you're going to do and to the contractor what you're going to do.
Oh,
So
for
we
sure.
can say, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
In other words, your concept is pretty, but you just got to, there's some things that you've left a little bit open, maybe just a couple more details on how that's going to be accomplished so that the board can look at it and say, hey, look, that's going to look nice. There's just some parts left out, and it's easy to draw the picture, but as architects and builders, we kind of ask the question mentally, how's this going to work today, and how's it going to last over time, and how is it going to look in the future, not just the minute that they finish with it. So that you got to kind of you kind of have to look at it from a little different angle, but the concept is very pretty. It looks very nice from in my opinion. So
Yeah, I like it.
Yes, I understand.
Okay.
I wasn't able to tell from the details, but is the stucco portion over masonry?
Yes.
Okay, so it should be pretty easy to anchor.
Yeah.
Right.
Some verticals on those horizontals.
Right.
Maybe you want to even beef them up to maybe 3/4 or something like that, and support them like Jim had mentioned at every 32 with a little bracket onto the top of the wall. It would be relatively easy.
Yeah. Okay. That's why we figured that it would be something that would be delineated in the fabrication.
Normally, the way that might work is that you provide them some detail of how they're going to do it, and then you can review the shop drawings at the point they'll prepare a shop, maybe even not on something this small, but they prepare shop drawings for your review prior to fabrication. And if the shop drawing looks good, then you approve it, they fabricate it, and the contractor installs it.
Yeah, that's that we have a fabricating shop, so that's the difficulty here, that we're used to just doing it and they do it correctly. So it's just jumping through the hoops we need to jump through to get move forward. So we'll do that.
So this is Michael. This is scheduled for final. Can we just bring it back on consent later once they provide those details?
Well, can I talk about, Annette,
Sure.
the front elevations? You took the details off the top of the gables. It was kind of nice having more detail there, but those are board and bat. What material are you using? Is that a hardy product?
Yes. Yes.
The cement.
And have you checked to see if you're going to have any joints? Because some of those links are pretty long.
You will have a horizontal joint.
Someplace, maybe, but I don't know how long those. I think you can get them 10 feet long, can't you? So.
I'm not sure. I've seen them 8 foot for sure.
Yeah.
It's only 5/16.
It's thin, yeah. So, which means you're going to have.
They are. You can get them 10 feet and 12 feet, actually, guys. But there is a horizontal. Looks like there's a horizontal joint.
That
I
might
think
be the plate line.
that's just the plate line, I think, Bobby.
Oh, there's a plate line. Okay.
Yeah.
If you can get them 10 feet, you can make that work without jointing it.
Yeah, but what I a lot of times do is go through there and see if I've got any rogue ones that are too long, and then figure out how to fix it. But I did like the way that the top gables were. We're doing something with them before, Annette. But this is a solution to to the detailing issues that you're talking about.
Yeah, I think this is a lot simpler solution, Jim. It'll construct much easier and much less opportunity for water penetration.
And just make sure that that you don't end up with some rogue joint someplace in that you don't want to have, because it'll uglify the house. Like up on, well, I don't know. You're gonna have to just measure it to make sure they're the right way. And then the other thing.
Sorry, board member, can I ask for a clarification just for my own notes? What component of the elevation were you speaking of right now when you were talking about the joint?
Talking about horizontal flashing when the member becomes too long and you have to splice a second member above it or a piece of hardy above it, then there's a joint. That joint needs to be flashed. That's what Jim's referring to.
To make sure that you don't end up with pieces that are long enough to fulfill the elevation that you're doing. Also, on the final, we need to see details of all your window details, trellis details, all of that stuff. Just like you're submitting it to the building department, pretty much, except for the structural stuff.
Okay. Details, trellis details. Okay.
Annette, have you used the brackets before that you've drawn, the 4x4s?
No, I have not used those, but I've looked at existing and did the same. What was constructed, copied what was constructed.
And a 4x4, do you think is big enough? Things
Yes,
just get delineate. They get smaller when you put them on houses a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
How big is your fascia?
Fascia is 2x8.
An 8.
Yes.
Hey Jim, we just did one like that not too long ago, and we thought about using a bigger one underneath, and we tried it. And we put it up there, and it didn't look good because of the overall scale of the triangle of the brace, the knee brace.
Yeah.
It didn't work very good trying to put a bigger one. The 4x4s actually ended up looking better. We mocked up each side.
Yeah, but this is a 2x4, Bobby. This is a 2x4 knee brace on here.
Oh, I thought it was a 4x4.
It's a 4x4 top piece.
4x4, isn't it? The top is a 4x4, yes. So that when you're looking at it, it's a 4 inch, 3.5 inch. But from the side, the flat ones against the wall and the angle are 2x4s, flat. If you look at my detail.
Yeah, we found out that the 4x4 as the knee brace itself, the kicker looked really nice. It ended up looking the best, but we were trying to put a 4x6 into it, and we decided 4x4s looked better. But yeah, I've never seen the things. I don't know. I don't know how you're going to like that as a 2x4 from the side. That's going to be a little
spindly, a little bit too thin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no problem. We can change that. I have drawn it and it looked really heavy. And the ones that I did copy were 2x4s and they looked fine. They looked good.
It's what is used a lot in Orchid.
Mhm.
That's if you look at the neighbors on either side of these houses, that's what most of them are.
If you've seen it before and you like it, then it's not bad. We've just done them quite a bit, and it always seemed to look more appropriate as a 4x4. But that's up to you guys, obviously.
Are you talking about the angle?
Yeah, the kicker, the knee brace.
Yes. Okay. Well, would it be okay?
That's up to you. That's what you like. You go ahead and put it the way you like it. If you've seen it before, especially on adjoining or nearby properties, then if you're in keeping and in kind, that's okay with me.
Yeah, well, that's what we had. The intent of it was to keep with it what's going on and what we've seen, and we liked that. But again, like somebody said, was that we can mock up one, put it up there, and if it does look too spindly, we can go try a 4x4 on there on the kicker.
It's like a lot of things you put on houses, like lighting. You go to the lamp store, you buy a lamp, put it on the house, and it's just this little tiny thing. You realized it needed to be different scale. And
I understand that. The post looking like a toothpick on a,
right.
Instead of beefier than.
You don't want it to look like the house is holding it up, but the other way around.
No.
And also, in that, like underneath your little, there's little outlookers and stuff like that. Trellises, detail all those just like you would, on the
Yes.
on the working drawings.
Sure.
Window details, all that stuff.
Okay.
Fascias.
Yes. And but do we need all that for our final today? I mean, I know we need to detail all these things. I didn't recognize that. I thought you were just looking at the aesthetics of the drawings and what it looks like right now.
Yeah. For final, yeah, that's what we're looking at. But it's how you accomplish that is in the details. So we've always looked at details forever. Window details,
Okay.
all the brackets, trellises, that stuff.
Okay.
And make sure you don't end up with any joints on any of your vertical boards.
Yes, I will look into that. Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah. Does the board have any other comments?
No.
Annette, how far along are you on the working drawings?
I've sent everything out for everybody to start looking at. So not very far. I mean, we're making decisions on flooring and ceilings and things like that right now, and lighting, interior.
Because we're not really holding you up. You can still submit, plans and so forth on a preliminary approval. And
Yes.
and we pretty much want to see your, short of what Daniel's going to do, for final.
Okay.
Okay.
This is for final.
Right.
Okay.
Kevin, did you have anything?
Yeah, I guess our confusion is just we don't even have a land use permit. We felt like MBAR was waiting for that. I mean, they were waiting for final from MBAR before they would issue the land use permit or anything. So looks like we need a full set of drawings before we move
Final.
forward.
Is that, planning can chime in here, is that true?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes. So you can submit, as the board was saying, you can still submit to building at this point. You have preliminary approval, you have final, but before we approve the land use permit, we do need final approval from MBAR. At this point, it sounds like you were just looking for details. I know that many applicants, return, they provide their working drawings, and those are the same working drawings they submitted to building. So it doesn't mean you can't advance on the project, and the likelihood is that the land use permit will be issued before the building plans are complete. So that shouldn't be an issue on timing. It's just up to you on how you approach the project. If you want to submit to building and for a final MBAR review at the same time, that works. You're just doing it with the knowledge that there might be some final edits to both sets.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, and you're going to go through your first submittal to the building department. They're going to do their full review. And then they may or may not have, and most likely they will have some comments for you. So you will revise the plans again to satisfy the building department.
We thought we had to have the final MBAR approval before we could submit to building. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not before you could submit, but before they'll have final approval.
Okay.
okay.
But for building, you'll need the energy package and all
Yes,
the.
I already have all those in the process now.
Okay. Then I don't even. Maybe it's changed, Jim. Will building even take it without LUP approval?
They will take you in. So the way the process works is that you submit to planning, and then some people submit to building at risk. building, once they finish their review, they'll review it the first time. They'll give you revisions, and that basically that cycle goes on depending on how long it takes to make all the revisions to meet their code requirements. Before they issue any building permits, they send it back to planning, and they basically ask planning to review the building site to make sure everything's still consistent. That's where planning has to check in to make sure, you know, all the design work that got done through the MBAR process would, you know, translate into the building, and that nothing's really changed on the plans. Once that confirmation is given, they would then issue the building permits, but they will not issue it if they don't. They'll basically go to the final steps of the processing, but they won't issue the building permits unless they have an issued LUP.
Which, if I just can ask a quick question, you know, in order to get the LUP, we have to have feedback from road encroachment, feedback from all our can and will serve letters, and, you know, addressing from the fire department, which they said was, you know, was supposed to be later. We're working on that. So it's confusing, to say the least. So
I don't need addressing from the fire department. We can continue this conversation later on, but I don't need addressing from the fire department. That's really so fire department has a separate process known as I believe it's the fire certificate, fire safety certificate, I believe that's what it's called. But
fire protection.
Fire protection certificate.
Yeah, we needed
and that
it
gets done during the building stage. We do need, because of where this is located, to clear this through public works. It's the pedestrian overlay in Orchid, so we need to make sure we have everything from them. But that's the department that would be missing after that. That doesn't, again, prevent you from submitting to building. Again, you're just doing so knowing that you're still waiting on comments from them.
Okay. We'll be back then.
So Michael, is it possible that we could look at these details under a consent situation?
It's pretty much the same.
Yeah, I mean, we would want them to come back only to verify, because I mean, part of this process is that you give us a pretty picture, and then the details support that pretty picture. If
Right.
Should we have to make changes, that's not something that we can do on consent. So
Okay.
they would be agendized for final review. They would submit what they've submitted to the building department as far as the details are concerned.
Okay.
And then once we're satisfied, we give them final approval, and they continue on with the process.
Do they already have preliminary?
Yes.
They already have one.
They
Yes.
already have preliminary. So you're down to just minor details now, which with minor tweaks, you're not running any risks, outwardly that the NBAR is going to reject the whole thing. You've got preliminary review, so you really need to finish up all your detailing anyway to get through the building department. So sending them back over to us for the final review and getting final approval to get your land use is it's not a waste of time or a potential hiccup in the future. So all those details are just things that will either come in right or need a little tweaking and to make them finish out right anyway. So as you know, I think you're good to go, but you just have to finish the final step. It sounds to me like you've got your other issues out there that you need to get comments on probably before you get too far. But from what it sounds like to me, the board's opinion is your concept is good. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, the process could be simultaneous.
Okay, that's no problem.
All right.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead. No, I was supposed to-
You'll need to create your construction documents that include those details. So at the end of that period, when you're ready to submit to the building, you can also just submit them back into us, and it'll go pretty smooth.
Okay,
All right.
that sounds
Is there
good.
any landscape issues? Still here, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm here. The planting and irrigation were pretty thorough. They
Okay.
support the design intent completely.
Great.
Yeah, there's just details.
Yeah, that's not a problem. We can handle the details. We just I didn't recognize that you needed the actual bolting and, attachments, and which normally we do, like you said, with the construction drawings. So that's not a problem. We can do that.
Well, what we'll actually look at will be the details in your construction documents.
Correct. Yes.
Well, thank you very much, ladies.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
All right. At this time, we'll move on to agenda item number 3, BAR number 190020, the water system. James, if you can go ahead and introduce yourself for the record, and any team members you might have with you, we'll go ahead and get started.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jimmy Fields. I have with me Dane Sinagra with Golden State Water, who's the capital project manager, engineering manager. Tony Somners and Mark Brandy with SWCA are our landscape and irrigation architects for the final architect plans for the Fox and Canyon Reservoir project. Do you guys have the plans, or can I share my screen here?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
David, do you want to give him permission, or is Eric still got it?
Looks like you got it.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So the first page on L 1.0 is the overall landscape layout, showing the proposed tank and the existing outline trees, and the oak trees shown, the coastal live oak trees that will be protected, implementing the coastal oak tree protection replacement plan. The trees with the X's on our first page are outlining showing the trees which are to be removed and to be replaced. And then, as I said, we have this fenced off area and a detailed and comments outlining from the coastal oak tree protection plan how those will be protected during construction. And we've also included the language on our sheet here from our oak tree protection measures from our protection plan. We've also highlighted which trees are to remain, and the trees that are highlighted with an X are trees to be removed, which are all typical.
Is that basin already existing?
The existing trees?
There's a basin down at the bottom.
These two basins will be brand new.
Okay.
They're not existing currently.
Okay.
The next page is our planting plan. So this will be the new established landscape after construction. And these detail the 1 gallon oak trees and the 9 24-inch box oak trees. And then also we have in each area the native habitat planting areas, which will be established after grading is completed.
And Tony, sorry, Jimmy, if you don't mind, I'll just jump in and just highlight that The 24-inch box oak trees, we have consolidated those in a ring around at the top of the hill, closest to the tank, to try to maximize initial screening after construction and installation of the plant material is completed. We also have a ring of the toyon, which is the smaller plant symbol shown on the plans there, to provide some more immediate screening immediately after construction, given that the coast live oaks are slower growing.
Are you doing anything on the cut area, on the lower left-hand corner? I guess it's a cut.
Yeah, all of the graded slopes associated with the project. The dashed outline that you see on the plan there is the limit of grading shown on the plans, and so any areas within that limit of grading in the central portion of the site, about mid-slope, there'll be a combination of planting and seeding there with a additional native plant palette, all low water use plants, and then the remainder of the slopes will be hydroseeded with a native grass and shrub mix.
So there is a kind of it's hard to tell, but this will have a 100%. Is that, I think that was the question, correct?
That was my question. It's about a 20-foot cut. And so the toyon, how tall is toyon? It gets about that high, doesn't it?
Toyon can get that high. It's typically more, I think, in the range of 10 to 15 feet, can get as high as 20. So over time, when it reaches maturity, it could certainly get that high.
So it disguised that cut quite a bit.
Yes, substantially.
And then Mark, just to confirm, this is the shaded portion is also native mix.
Correct. So that would be hydroseeded area. It's more the central portion of the site. It's a little bit, if you zoom in a little bit further, Jimmy, you can start to distinguish between the two hatches that are shown on our plan, where the central portion of the site has both planting and seeding, planting of containerized plants and seeding. And then further down below, there's the separate hatch that indicates the seeding. That's clarified on a subsequent page in our plant legend. You see the difference between the two hatches. And then down at the bottom of the site that Jimmy's currently showing is our two basins, and we'll be doing native planting around those basins as well. That will be deer grass, which is a beautiful flowing native grass that will hopefully blend in with the aesthetics of the pre-existing landscape.
And then we also have a legend here that kind of shows the hash marks, the hatching and the type of trees between the size of oak trees and the toyon trees. And once again, the existing oak trees to remain show those protective fencing. This oak tree here is up against an existing fence, so this side of the oak tree, since there's no construction in this area, is already protected by this fence. Fence surrounding this oak tree. And then over here, there's an existing fence that runs along here. Any questions so far?
Are the existing tanks going to remain?
Yes. There's no plans currently to remove the tanks. Once they will be disconnected, drained and disconnected, and retained by the property owner of the Blackman School.
Your volume's real low.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
You need me to repeat that answer?
Yes.
The existing tanks are to remain at the end of the project. They'll be drained and disconnected. They're currently in an our property that's currently owned by the property owner. So there's no plans of removing them from the site.
Are there any other comments by the board?
Guys, I went through these plans.
I have
They're
none.
consistent with what they showed us before. They're pretty thorough and complete. The only thing I asked the planner to note was that the landscape architect, excuse me, review the layout from the public view to make sure that it appears as natural as he can make it, so that the trees don't look regimented, sort of lined up on the hillside. They have met the county requirement for replacements. Even though they're planting 1 gallons, they're going to have to bond for it. So county staff goes out to verify the trees are still there at the end of the bonding period. And if they're not, they have to replace them. So if there's concern over the small size.
Thank you, Kevin. And I'll just emphasize that our staff will be on site during installation of the plant material, and we'll do just that in terms of plant layout, looking at massing of the plantings by species in order to create the most natural aesthetic possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, as they are agendized for final, is there any other comments the board would like to make at this time?
I have none.
Okay. Then with that being said, I'll ask for a motion to approve this project.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you very much, gentlemen. Go ahead and work with your planner to get everything stamped and
Excellent.
Great. Thank you very much.
okay, now that we have come to the end of the agenda, I'd like to go back to the meeting minutes. Good. I think we've approved the January.
The February ones, right, Michael?
Yeah, we're going back to the February meeting.
David, can you tell me, was I shown as absent on that one?
Trying to get out of here, man. So it shows members present: Michael McClinty, Stephen Reese, James King, and Robert Jones. So yeah, you're not. Yeah, you show as absent, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Kevin. We appreciate the fact that you called it.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Cheers.
It's Mai Tai time. All right. Now with Kevin gone, we can talk about it. I mean, so I think we just need to clarify how these notes are going to be reported back to the planning.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it just conceptual? The comments are going to be re-reviewed at a later date with preliminary?
Well, these notes are going to go to the planning commission, and they're going to look at them as these are the comments from architecture review board, and then they make whatever decision they're going to make. So in my opinion, we need to make sure that we're giving the direction that from the board rather than just a review of the discussion points from the applicant. If you follow what I mean.
So
No, I do.
I'm just looking at these for the first time, like you are today, and so I do see in the minutes that it does make a notation that both the MBAR comments and then the applicant's response to these are below. It might be a little bit easier to see on screen because I think the applicant's comments are in red. So I think that I think what we need direction on is really what you want in the minutes. I'm not sure. Was Holly here for this? Did she take these notes?
I believe she did.
So they are a little bit different than I think what you would normally see. So
because I think what she did, and I'm not sure, but she took comments from the previous meeting and listed them in black, and then as they went through and addressed each comment, she wrote down what they said, and then some of it is what we said.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of mixed.
So it's from the previous review.
I see.
And it, I just think it's going to end up giving us, they're not going to understand what's all this about, just like you didn't when it goes to the Planning Commission.
Okay. So I think what I'm hearing is you guys just want us to relook at these and kind of just redo them and then resubmit them to the board at the next meeting, or I don't really know with those comments if we can do anything today.
No,
it doesn't sound like it.
I tried to unscramble them,
Yeah.
but the scale is still an issue, at least for me. The massing, they looked at the massing from one side, but they didn't look at it from another side. That sort of thing. It was supposed to undulate, but it only undulated a foot or so. It didn't really undulate. It just gave it a slight relief.
Well, how much of that is actually fixed at this point, though, Jim? I mean, isn't it completely still an open ball game in terms of individual buildings being re-reviewed at preliminary?
Yes, but I don't want them to get the idea that like they understand. I remember discussing with them vertical elements on a 3-story building isn't what we want. So they come off and then they put a wainscot along the bottom, but it didn't really address the massing problem. In which case, to break it up, they didn't break it up. They just they put lipstick on it. Yeah. And they still have like a common ridge going across the whole top. Instead of trying to break up these masses, they're trying to make it stacked and as simple and cheap as possible. But
well, sure. But I mean, isn't the Planning Commission, and maybe Eric, you can comment on this, but isn't the Planning Commission looking at more or less the use rather than the individual architectural elements?
Well, part of it is the massing and how it's to make it compatible with the neighborhood. The neighborhood is 1-story, residential, but this is, 3-story. It's a big building. And
yeah, it is.
To try to break down the exterior parts of it to blend in with the community was what we were trying to get them to do. But there's still 3-story and 2-story elements that are linear almost.
With long 300-foot ridge.
And then they put decorations on the roof to make it almost look 4 stories.
Yeah.
Which is impressive, but that's not impressive. Isn't compatible.
Well, I guess my understanding is that we would have a considerable opportunity to review and provide additional comment and guidance as they reapply at the preliminary stage. But maybe I don't understand that part of it very well. And that the Planning Commission wasn't so much looking at the architecture other than the fact that it had at least been conceptually reviewed. And conceptually, I think we are okay, but I understand what you're saying about having, I mean, if we can pick and choose individual items out of those buildings and say, well, this is not maybe appropriate or whatever, but I don't think at this point our evaluation of this thing was it was just an overall picture of it rather than the individual details of it.
Well, the only thing that I would think that they would want input on is that somebody's going to come up with the scale of the thing and the mass of it, and that it's still not worked out is kind of what I think we want to convey to that it still looks massive. And if they want to address, because the Planning Commission can address the density of it and the volume of it if they want to, I think. Is that right?
Eric?
Eric's
Is he gone?
Or David?
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 I don't know.
That's I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. That would have been a question for Eric. But if you guys have any comments that you'd like me to forward on, I'm happy to do so.
David, let me ask you this. We were just looking at conceptual review. We weren't making any decisions. We were just making here suggestions. When these suggestions are then given to the planning commission, because they are not actions, what weight do they have?
So, that they're only conceptual. Just that's because of the procedure of how these development plans work. So they're not going to be, any action items anyhow. That's just, that's not how it works for these. So I wouldn't say that they have less weight because of what level review. So they want to know what the BAR is thinking, and to be quite honest, I think the only comment, or the comment that the Planning Commission makes the most about the BAR minutes, because they're not design professionals themselves, is that they want them to be as detailed as possible. So I do think that they want additional BAR review and comment of these projects. So I think that maybe they carry more weight than maybe you think.
In the past, I've always been told that we were to take them in conceptual, not to vote on them, but had we voted on preliminary, we would have approved it.
Correct.
So it was like, yeah, so it needs to be a point where we would have done it if we could have done it.
Yes, agreed.
Well, but like now, take the example, Jim, that cannabis project that was over there in the canyon over in that Lompoc area. And those drawings were pretty vague at the conceptual standpoint when it went to the planning commission. It was nowhere near detailed. I mean, so I guess I was envisioning that was the level of response that we needed to provide. But
Is that, you mean the cannabis one in the canyon?
Yeah, remember that one?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but from what David's saying, then we need to provide much more detail. So.
You can still give a preliminary approval when there's not any detail. We've given preliminary approval, I remember, just practically on sketches.
Yeah.
But this is a good concept, and go ahead and do it. And we're not there, I don't think, with this one, just because the massing needs to be looked at a lot, and a lot of the detailing and how it's put together. But I don't think we're at a point where we would have said on this one, we would have given a preliminary approval had we had the opportunity.
No,
yeah,
I concur with that.
And Steve, at joint chairs, I know that Bethany of the C-Bar has, expressed frustration with staff direction on how to review certain types of projects, including cannabis ones in particular. Because
that was just an example. I mean, I wasn't.
Okay, great.
I mean, in terms of how we processed it at the time.
Yeah, I think
or the level of scrutiny.
I think really what Jim says, I think, has been kind of like the standard for a long time, is that you should be able to get to the point, and that's why some of these projects that have to go to Planning Commission will come back a few times before being ready, before going to Planning Commission, is the BAR should be comfortable with the amount of detail being presented, that they would be comfortable moving forward with preliminary. And the point and the idea with that is, let's assume that it gets approved by the Planning Commission, that's exactly what it would be agendized for, would be preliminary approval. So you should be comfortable with it before shipping it off to the Planning Commission.
Fair enough. I mean, I guess my understanding, and I understand what Jim's saying about the massing, but I didn't realize that we were looking at all the detailing at this point.
Yeah.
I'm not, the detailing, but like fenestration, how the windows, doors, what they're doing with the roof, the shape of the roof, the way the buildings move in and out, how it's situated on the property so that it doesn't immediately go to the largest, at the street. It builds up sort of. I think they still need a lot of work on that, but I just looked at the minutes and it was confusing to me.
No, I think the minutes are confusing. I don't disagree with you. I think then at this point, then maybe we need to have staff take another look at their minutes here, and perhaps
that would be good.
Rewrite it in a format that might be more in line with how we need to approve it.
So are they they're not planning on going to a planning commission soon, are they? Does anybody know?
I can check and see if it's on the long range calendar, but I don't recall it being there. So
Then this is mostly going to be directed back at them, that to be clear about what it is they still need to work on, and
Yeah, wouldn't you expect it would come back before us before it's going to planning commission?
looks like I wasn't sure.
Yeah, see, I'm not either. But if we're looking at a project that's approvable as a preliminary, then it most certainly needs to come back to us, because as you and I both agree that it's nowhere near close to a preliminary package at this point. There's a lot of issues that still need to be resolved. My thought was, or my thinking was, that it was, as a conceptual project, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the general circulation plan. I'm okay with the basic disposition of the buildings and the amenities that are being considered. Not necessarily saying that I'm okay with all the architecture and I could approve it today. I mean, so I guess there's a disconnect that I wasn't aware of.
So planning will look at the minutes again, I guess. Is that what we're going to do?
Yeah,
well, Eric's already gone, I guess.
So I think what we'll do is I'll if this is Holly that did these minutes, I'll have a conversation with her, and Michael, maybe we can touch base and just see if we're on the right track here. I think we just need to have some consistency with how the minutes are produced and drafted.
Agreed.
And I'm not really sure exactly what happened because I wasn't here. I wasn't staff for that meeting, and I didn't see these before. I printed them out this morning, so I'm not quite sure exactly how to explain them. But I think in general, you just kind of want these to look more with what you would normally see.
You might talk to Shannon. I think she was the planner on that one.
Was she there? Do you know?
I believe she was.
Okay, so I'll talk to Holly and Shannon about that. Not a problem.
Cool.
So we'll just put these two along with your April meeting minutes. So you'll have 3 sets of minutes next month. Is that okay? Sorry about that.
And
well, it's down from 4.
That's
we're picking away.
And if we could get them like on a Wednesday before the meeting.
Yeah.
I don't look at them Thursday night, and I download all this stuff, then I convert all the doc for into PDF so I can actually look at them, and it's a process.
Yeah, I'll talk to Leah, and I want Michael, I sent you an email about this. Maybe the 3 of us can have a conversation about this. I'm not sure if it's once we pass a certain milestone date prior to the meeting, like so many days, maybe it would just be helpful rather than just adding them to the box folder and assuming that people are going to be looking at them, then to maybe either attach them to an email or alert the members that, if it's something that's too large to email, that they're there for review. That might solve at least one of the issues, which there seems to be some communication problems with the hearing material.
If you just send out an email, just an email saying that we've updated the box for this particular meeting. And I think one of the other issues is getting staff to provide the minutes on a timely fashion.
Yes, I have heard that. I know there's been some back and forth with who your assigned planner is, so I think that probably has something to do with it. I will. I'll have to talk to I think Mr. Wilson about that, because he and I have had conversations about that in the past.
I think typically our planner here has been Holly as the planning representative.
Yeah, I know she did tell me at one point that she had given it to one of her staff members, and it might have been I'm not sure if it was Eric or Ben.
Tina? Oh, okay.
So we'll have to figure that out, and like I said, we'll just our goal is to be consistent with how these minutes are being produced, because I think that doesn't occur, what the result is the kind of confusion
Yes.
about.
Right. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well,
Well, thank you for your input, you guys.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time and everybody coming to the meeting
Yes.
today.
So I think our next meeting is on June 25th, Michael.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, David.
All right. Until then, thank you.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Michael. Bye.
We'll see you.